Howdy folks, thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all doing okay today. So, told y'all I had another car dealership story for you. Well, here it is. So, pardon me. This one late morning, early afternoon, I am sitting in my dealership cubicle, my little fish bowl. Sorry about the rumble strips, folks. They've got a lane shift going on up here. The traffic's moving slow, but there's nothing I can do about the rumble strips. They're doing construction. Anyway, sitting in my little fishbowl of an office. It is a terribly rainy day. And I'm just kind of sitting there, and whenever it was rainy and slow, and no one was coming in to look at things, or drive things, or speak with people, I like to stay by the phones to pick up phone ups and see what I can get done. I'd also sit in there and do a lot of research on the higher end cars that Ford was building at the time. Like as an example, I can tell you one of the tests that they did on the 2013 GT500, aside from a roll cage, it was a completely stock car. It was the highest horsepower Mustang that Ford had produced street legal. And at the time, had 662 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque in a 2013 and 14 GT500 out of a 5.8 liter 32 valve supercharged V8 that was dubbed the Trinity. Never got to drive one yet. I'd love to, though. If anyone has one, hit me up. Just kidding. Anyway, sitting in there doing research on stuff. Oh, I didn't finish telling you. One of the things they did in a stock car, aside from a roll cage, they took it to the Nardo Ring in Italy. Big, multi-mile circle track, high bank rate, so you can get really close to maxing a car out. They ran this car on this track over 200 miles an hour until the fuel tank ran out. No issues with the car. Didn't overheat. Was stable at those speeds. No problems. They also did a top speed run to a full ABS panic stop, and it was fine. So they really did a lot of engineering research on this car and engineering prove out on this car once they got it complete. So anyway, I'm sitting in there doing research like this, and phone rings. Pick the phone up. It's calling Mr. Bob. Mr. Bob's a customer, potential customer, up in Louisville. Well, you won't know where that is, but 30 minutes to an hour away from where we are, calling around, and he's looking for a unicorn of a truck. Not anything overly special. Not anything particularly well optioned. He's looking for a unicorn in price. So me and Mr. Bob, we are on the phone, and he's looking for a truck between $10,000 to $15,000, under 7 years old, under 120,000 miles, 4-door, 2 or 4-wheel drive. He wasn't particularly picky about that. He wanted something he could pull his boat with. Well, Mr. Bob, that's kind of right in an odd spot to attempt to be on truck prices, especially considering your pricing, your other requirements out of the truck, as far as, it has to be 4-door, has to have a good tow package, 4-wheel drive is a like, not a necessity, your age and your mileage restrictions. It's an odd price to be at. It's very tough to get there. But there was absolutely nothing else going on in the dealership that day. It was a very nasty, rainy day. He and I talked on the phone, had a wonderful chat. He was a very talkative gentleman, very personable guy. And then I found out about his trade-in. He is trading in, pardon me, a Chevy HHR base panel van that he wants absolutely all the money for. And, well, when could I get you to come down here so we could take a look at that and find out just exactly what my used car manager says it's worth? Well, I'd like to come down there and actually have a vehicle picked out, so I stay up on all the trade-in trucks coming in to see if there's anything coming in that fits his bill. That would tow his boat, that may or may not be four-wheel drive, that may or may not be full four-door, but definitely has to have these miles, this price range. And the short version of this story is we keep getting trucks in. And understand, back in those days, that price range was not a common find, especially for what he wanted. And so every 20 to 30 trucks that get traded in is one that fits his bill on his mileage and pricing and year. So I'm not on the phone with this guy very often, but we'll get something traded in. Hey, I think this is exactly what you're looking for. As an example, one of the trucks we got in, I'm so glad I didn't sell it to this guy because it ended up having some problems in the steering rack, but it was a 2002 F-150 Lightning. It had a brand new crate motor in it, stock long block, but still brand new motor. It had been pulleyed and tuned and ran like a screaming demon. I got to drive it for a week because the steering rack went out on it. We tried a little bit of power steering pump treatment from Lucas in it to try to fix it. No go, but didn't hurt to try. So anyway, keep getting on and off the phone with Mr. Bob, we'll call him. And I call him about this Lightning, and he's, no, I don't want anything supercharged. Because I told him, like, well, Mr. Customer, this thing's, rated to tow, 5,000, 4,000 or 5,000 pounds, whatever it was. And he's like, well, I really don't mind the fact that it's a single cab because it's just me and my lady friend, but I don't want it supercharged. Well, it pulled real good. I took the thing home for the weekend and I drove it, and if I could justify spending that kind of money on a two-door truck, I'd buy it for me because I would enjoy towing my lawn business with it. Was kind of my attitude. He didn't seem to appreciate the fact that an 02 SVT Lightning truck is just a fantastic vehicle for all of his boating needs. He came down a couple times. I don't think he ever brought his HHR. He always left himself that out. I don't remember seeing it ever. And he knew that it would take a very special buyer to buy that truck or buy his little HHR, because that is not the spec you want for one of those. You want something that you can put people in, not just a small amount of stuff in the back of your panel van. Tiny panel van at that. So anyway, we go back and forth. He comes down to visit 2 or 3 times, and we look at trucks and we look at trucks at our partner dealerships. The owner of the Ford franchise there owns everything else under the sun but Kia and GM, I think. And so we can look at all their used inventory, and we can pull from all their used inventory and sell it. And so I'm constantly keeping an eye. He came down a couple times. I showed him a truck. It was exactly what he wanted. He's like, I don't like the front bumper. It doesn't look right. And I'm like, well, you could get a front bumper. No, I want it to be exactly the way it needs to be to look perfect. When I buy it, I'm like, well, you don't get to custom spec a used truck. They come the way they come. He's like, I completely understand that. I'm like, well, it's either, buy a used truck, or it's not exactly what you want, but you're saving money, so you could spend a little bit of money to put the bumper cover on it you want, or do this or do that to make it exactly the way you want, or you're going to end up spending more money to get something newer, or even order something that you want. No, I'm not going to do that. Definitely going to buy from you. Definitely going to buy from you, though. Well, I went through a couple times of calling this guy and scheduling a day that he could come down, and proceeding to waste that day showing him all sorts of things that he would never end up buying. And one day we ended up getting another vehicle in that I thought about him. I called him. Well, you won't believe your luck. I called and bought from I called him up, and you won't believe your luck. I was looking around at another dealership, and I ended up buying a da-da-da-da-da-da vehicle, and I overpaid, but I like it. And my mood instantly goes from, maybe I'll get to sell this guy a truck that keeps burning up my phone time and burning up, a day, a month of my time. Maybe I'll get to sell him a truck to, I can't wait to get off the phone with this jerk. I was not going to dirty our brand name by saying, quit wasting my time, click. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to talk to him, wish him the best with his new vehicle purchase, but it really went all over me. I just wasn't going to be that jerk. In hindsight, I probably would have been a better salesman if I would have been a touch more salty with people that were just time wasters. So, anyway, another story from the dealership. I don't know that it amounts to anything, but just one of those oddball customers that stick out. Hope y'all are doing okay. Take care of yourself.